Can you move that?
Podium.
Yes.
Stop. You don't have time for this. You don't have time for this.
That's all.
I'm gonna call you when you go live. Islam, calling our prophet teachers of this vocation, our national Grand Sheik, brother Chief Turner Hill. Islam.
Islam. Islam, Lord.
Islam.
First and foremost, we rise, give my highest praise to the great God of the universe. We give praise and I want to give thanks to Allah. Thank Allah for all He has blessed me with. In spite of the fact that I do everything in my power to mess my own life up, I give thanks to Allah for giving me the opportunity each day to get right on this path that He has opened up for me. I begin giving my praise and honor. I like to keep it personal, because I don't want.
According to Wikipedia, Telecom Argentina SA is the major local telephone company for the northern part of Argentina, including.
Because I don't want to get into a routine and get into a custom of praise and honor. See, sometimes we'll do this and it's a custom. And we'll get up and go through the custom. But why do we do it? Everything that we do and everything that the prophet brought us has a reason. And I often like to say that everything that our prophet brought us is for our salvation, to save us, to save us both here and in the life that we shall live after here. It's all geared towards that. So in everything that our prophet set up for us to do, I try to find in it what it is that I'm supposed to get out of it to make my life better. Because if this is not about that, then we're just going through motions. And at some point in going through the motions in life, you'll find some other motions to go through. Someone else doing something else. I want to give honor to Allah's prophet, true divine prophet, and founder of the More Science to Lord, and founder of the uniting of the More Science to Lord, as he told us in chapter 47, verse 12, the prophet Drew Ali. For those who have studied the history of this movement, even from a basic standpoint, see a lot of the things that went on during the time of our prophet and after our prophet passed, and those years preceding, then we will understand, or we begin to understand, that prophetic statement in chapter 47, verse 12. And why it is that he said that he is the founder of the United Lord Science and Movement, because it is in getting behind the prophet and what he brought that will one bring his morals together. And I put emphasis on his morals, not all morals, but bring his morals together. Because all morals weren't with the prophet 2,000 years ago, so they're all not with him today. Some are still out there lost. Some haven't really been properly introduced to the prophet Drew Ali, so they haven't heard his voice. Sometimes more is to say that, man, y'all get too caught up into how the temple supposed to operate, how the structure's supposed to go. But what they don't understand is that the more we strive to get in line with the structure and the operation of this temple, how our prophet intended for it to operate, the closer we will get to doing those things that he said that we're supposed to do and reaping the reward that he said that we will reap. And looking at that history, we will find that it seems as though the movement has failed. It seems as though, but the prophet prophesies about that as well. And how it would dwindle down to a handful. But he told the Moors to keep the doors open. But not just keep them open and be all over the place, but keep them open and stay behind the prophet. I want to give honor to the forerunner of the prophet, Brother Marcus Garvey. I want to give honor to the first appointed Supreme Grand Sheik of the Supreme Grand Council, Brother Eliel, the Grand Sheik of the Moosai Assembly of America. We give honor to Brother Eliel for representing the last piece of the organizational structure of this movement, and that being the Supreme Grand Council. He represented the prophets, that last brick of putting this movement together. And the blessing is that enough evidence of this existed for us to see today, or begin to see that this picture that the prophet was drawing for us, showing us the way that we need to go and operate this movement. And I repetitively keep saying that because, Lord, the truth of the matter is that we are living in the time of fulfillment of the prophecy. The more that you get involved in this movement, the more you will see what I'm talking about. And those more that the prophet prophesies, I have been blessed, and we all have been blessed, and maybe we all don't see it, but I have been blessed to see those more that the prophet was talking about coming in, knowing and seeing every day. Have conversations with Moors who come in with a fire underneath them. We have a responsibility to them. We owe them. We owe them to show them the right way. And once they know the right way, to get out of the way and let them carry it out. See, we're not into carrot dangling. We're not into holding Moors under our thumb. We're here to show them how to do this so that they can take it and do it and carry it where our prophet intended for it to go. That's what we're here for. That's what this is about. See, a lot of us came into this movement at the end of those tumultuous times when Moors was still at odds with one another. You didn't talk to these Moors because they was with this group. These Moors didn't talk to these Moors, they were with that group. Everything was cloaked in secrecy, and only to find out that there was nothing in the room to be secret about. The reality that Moors have been looking all over the place under every rock to try to find this secret, only to find out that it was right in their faces all the time. The reality of it is that they were afraid to face themselves and be, as Moors love to say, and be the message that they bring. We go through these chapters in the Holy Quran, the Moosai Assembly of America, and Moors are often talk about adat lessons. If you want to find them, there they are. Because the true one who is skilled in the application of these lessons in their life, that is the true adat in this Moorish divine and national movement. That's the true adat. The one who can live by this. And when they fall short on it, will not make excuses for why they are not living up to it, but can admit boldly that they are falling short and they need to get better. See, that's the kind of leading example that we need to set for our younger brothers and sisters coming in this movement. We need to stop making excuses. We need to be real and be honest with them and show them the way. That's what we're here for. Because they are here now. So they're coming in, they ain't asking those questions that we used to ask. What size was the proper shoes? Why are you sitting like that in the chair? What that mean? Right? Oh man, they're not asking them kind of questions. They asking those big questions like, how do we build this nation? We need to they're in position to buy land and cultivate the land and grow. Why is it that we don't have our own? Why don't we produce this? How can we go about producing it? Here's some information, Sheik, on how we can do this. Here's some information on how we can do that. See, they're coming in, moving this thing where it needs to go, ready to move it where it needs to go. And we need to show them how to do it. How to do it standing behind the prophet. The faithful, I often say the faithful are in this document. You can't see them because they're behind the prophet. The prophet is out front. But the faithful are in the document, they're in the picture with them. And it's not those who profess to be perfect or perfected. It's not those who profess to be better than anybody else. It's not those who profess to know more than anybody else. See, all those ones, they stand in the face of the prophet, so the people can't see the prophet. The faithful are behind them, and they're listening to the sound of his voice. And they're going the way that the prophet intended for us to go. That we may connect back to those higher powers that he was talking about. I give honor to all past leaders of the Moore Science Temple of America. Give honor to all members of United of Moore Science Temple of America, to the national staff, to all my brothers and sisters, grand governors, assistant grand governors, grand sheiks, assistant grand sheiks, sheikesses, members, all those who are striving to live this way of life, and all those who are striving to carry out the teachings of our Prophet Noble Drew Ali. This is truly a blessed time for those of us who have eyes to see. See, some of us had looked at this thing in an abstract, if you will, in a bubble for a long time, and really didn't see the practical application of it. Practical meaning everyday life. Like how this thing works in families. See, the blessing is to be able to meet more whose children are born in this. And see that this here that a lot of us grasped a hold of decades ago is real. It's real. Because all that the movement has been through, the Moors couldn't tear this up. Some have tried, inside and outside of the movement, but they couldn't tear it up. So here we are. And we see, moving aside all of the confusion, moving aside all of the debate, moving aside all of the argument, and let's look at what the prophet brought. Now here we are. So what we're going to do with it? I want to declare my attention to any errors I made on our brother G. Turner L. I wanted to just read from page 3, know thyself and thy Father God Allah. Says, dear readers, do not falsely use these lessons there for good, peace, and happiness for all those that love Jesus. I think that we had to do something different. Yeah, we had to do something different. See, because the way that things are going today, there should be a physical place, if you will, where the Moors can meet. But right now, especially here in Baltimore City, I think that we're meeting in the wrong place. I think we're meeting in the wrong place. It's summertime. And I think that we're at the wrong place. In a room, nice room, but we need to be where our people are at.
Well,
See, because somebody told me a lesson maybe like 10, 13 years ago. He taught me that if you want to combat your lower self, step outside of yourself and help somebody else. In spite of any reservations or anything that you may feel, do it anyway and do it and not expect anything in return, but do it for the sake of it needing to be done. And the more you do this, the stronger you will become to overcome your foes. Now I'm paraphrasing because he used some different terminology, but that's how I heard it as time went on. And what I did was I began to start trying what it was that he was saying. And I found that the more that I did this, the stronger I got against my foes. Inner foes, not outward, because I don't have any outward foes. I don't have any. Even those who may think that they are my outward foes really are not. They're really not. Because the truth of the matter is that if I can subdue my inner foe, anyone who is struggling with their inner foe on the outside of me don't have a chance. Because the Allah in me won't give them a chance to have any control over me or influence. The higher self is Allah in man. Is that not correct?
that is right.
So that means that your lower self cannot have any influence over me when I am in my higher self. None. And try as we may, the stronger that one gets in overcoming their foes, the less we can get to them with our foes. This is all an inside thing. It is all an inside thing. So I'm saying that to say that we say a lot about the teachings of the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. We say a lot about it. Yes, we must have temples and places where our people can come to so they can learn this doctrine. But we need to be out in the community where our people are at so they can see us. See, this is what's coming. And if I got to stand out by myself, that's how it's going to go down. Because I'm not going to keep standing here. Because a lot of times we be talking to each other and we think we already know. Okay. Then let's share this with somebody who don't know, who it is obvious that they don't know. Because sometimes we'll be building circles around ourselves of people who don't know, so that they only be what they do know, and what they do know hinders our growth and development. Instead of us sharing with them what we say we know, and maybe possibly together working to get better in it. So we had to step outside our comfort zone. So we had to stop hiding our pheasants. We got to stop hiding our literature as if it was just meant to be just for ourselves. And we had to share it with somebody else who obviously needs it. And regardless of whether they accept it right there or not. Because our job is not to save anyone. Allah is my salvation by night and by day through his holy prophet, through Ali. So if I share with someone the teachings of the prophet, through Ali, they can take those teachings and save themselves in Allah's appointed time. But if I do not share them, because I took on some responsibilities and some titles, because we love titles, and we need to stop having so many tulip sheets. Anybody know what a tulip sheet is? The prophet talks about the tulip. So the tulip is guarded without smell and conspicuous without use. It just looks good. So we've got too many tulip sheets running around. Too many. We also talk about that nominal morals, right? But I want to talk about them tulips because we got too many tulips. And we had to ask ourselves, are we like the tulip? Just looking good. Tulip don't have no smell and it don't have no use. It just looks good. They said, well, where do you come from this? Let I ask this question in our group. Won't they always be asking questions? I don't just be asking questions. The questions that I ask come out of here. And they have to be sharing stuff. It's something that what I read or what I heard that applies to what our prophet brought. It is even a mentality that we need to pay attention to, a behavior that we need to pay attention to. Because I shared in the group just recently that it said attention is the pilot that must conduct thee in her port. That verse simply means that we got to be paying attention and paying attention to detail. It is very important because I know I've been studying this for a long time and I missed a lot of the detail and getting caught up on being a tulip. See, a tulip sheet sound good too. Most of where you get that? In chapter 40, the chapter that was supposed to be the chapter for tonight, holy instruction from the prophet, the instability of man. Inconstancy is powerful in the heart of man. Intemperance swayeth, it wither, it will. Despair engross much of it, and fear proclaimeth, behold, I sit unrivaled therein. But vanity is beyond them all. First verse. A lot of stuff being said in the first verse there. Talks about all those weaknesses that we have. And I often like to talk about that one, fear. Because fear is a motivating factor for a lot of things in this life. Sometimes we are afraid for people to see our weaknesses, as they are called. Like as men, we, especially in our community, I'm going to speak specifically about us, because we have a misconception about manhood. See, our misconception about manhood is that we have to always be aggressive, we have to always be hard, we can't have no feelings, we can't have no remote. And so our fear of anyone, because we understand that this is the social norm in our community, out of fear that anyone may see anything that we do as being weak, we will mask up. to not show that so-called weakness. And it's being motivated out of fear of someone seeing us as being soft. All kinds of behavior stem from that. All kinds of insecurities stem from that. Is he talking about me? Is he trying to put me on the spot? That is an insecurity going on inside of the person because he has yet to deal with that foe inside of him that proclaims, behold, I sit unrivaled therein. Therein where? In the heart of man, in the very heart that fears them. But he said that vanity is beyond them all. It said, weep not therefore at the calamities of the human state. Don't be crying about the calamities of the human state. He said, rather laugh at his follies. In the hands of the man addicted to vanity, life then is but the shadow of a dream. It ain't even a dream. It's the shadow of a dream. Woo! Oh man, the hero, the most renowned of human character, what is he but the bubble of his weakness? The public is unstable and ungrateful. Why should the man of wisdom endanger himself for fools? The man who neglected his present concerns to revolve how he will behave when greater, feeding himself with wind. How often have we found ourselves doing that? I'll give you an example. I know when people start talking about stimulus check coming out, most of us are thinking about how we were going to spend it, but we didn't got it. We had already had a list of how the money was going to go right back out the door before it even came. And if there was any kind of delay and it came coming, we would start going through anxiety. Because some of us have been so foolish as to spend some other money that should have went to the proper thing, right? The present concern. We spend the present concern money looking for what's to come. And the prophet said, you're feeding yourself with wind. Imagine eating wind and you hungry. Imagine it. Sometimes we'll come in the temple and we'll sit back and we'll see ourselves as being this grand and eloquent speaker, this great leader. But we're not doing the necessary work to really carry out any of the roles. See, because to carry out any of the roles properly, there's a lot of internal work that must be done. See, because the moment somebody sees you faking, your actions will reverberate, and you may have to answer for a lot of harm that you have done in foolishness. Because surely if we lead someone astray, we got to answer. And everyone that they lead astray based on our portrayal of the truth, we have to answer for each one of them. That's why we got to be careful in rationalizing disobedience to God. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. There is no but. See? If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. There is no but. Because the moment we bring but in, we know what will come out of that. Just wrong. You need to work on that. You need to get better. Should not be doing that. So, that way we mislead no one with these positions into the thinking that it's okay. The prophet said, act as becometh thee in thy present station. In more exalted ones, thy face should not be ashamed. See, sometimes we're not playing our lane, or we're not staying in our lane. We want to swerve over to somebody else's lane. We want to be with somebody else in. Not doing those things that we're supposed to be doing in the lane that we're in. We're neglecting the responsibility that comes with being in that lane. And so when it comes time for us to step up to something else, we are unable to do that we've been aspiring to do, because we didn't do the lesser, what we saw as the lesser work. And I put emphasis on what we saw as the lesser work. Because when it comes to this doctrine, nothing is lesser. Everything is important. Everything is important. Just like everything is probably put in this divine constitution and bylaws, it is called the divine constitution and bylaws. Every word is important. Every act is important. And when we rationalize not doing any of this, we diminish our ability to step up into those more exalted roles. And some of us think exalted roles is being National Grand Sheik. No, it's being a good husband. It's being a good father. It's being a good brother. It's being a good friend. See, those aren't exalted roles. We're having twisted. And as a community of people, we have these things twisted. So I found myself lately looking at those in my circle. I'm looking at my behavior, I'm looking at their behavior. And I'm asking myself some questions. One of the questions is, why are you here? What am I supposed to get out of this? Because surely when you have people in your circle that don't hesitate to be disrespectful to you and don't even realize that they've been disrespectful, you have to reevaluate that. And then with an add insult to injury, there's nothing worse than a Jesse Jackson apology. You know how Mr. President. Everybody knows what a Jesse Jackson apology is. Jesse Jackson apology is like this. Well, I apologize if you felt like I disrespected you. You hear that? I apologize if you feel like I disrespect you. So they don't remove themselves out of the equation and told they're apologizing for your feelings. They add insult to injury. We have to be careful of that. Because we don't do that to each other. We won't stop and really consider. See, because this is the thing my prophet told me I was supposed to do. I'm supposed to ask myself this question in my actions and behavior towards other people. Would I accept that? Would it be all right with me if someone else did that to me? And be honest with myself. Because if I wouldn't accept it, don't do it. Don't do it. The prophet said the pure heart would do unto other men as they would have other men do unto them. Not do unto others as others do unto you. Because if others are wrong or disrespectful, then maybe they shouldn't be in your circle. But surely you should not allow someone else's lower behavior to influence yours and bring you to lower behavior yourself. Because once again, you are rationalizing disobedience to God. And you don't get a pass for your behavior just because someone did something to you. Especially when they have been consistently doing it, and you have been consistently accepting. It says, what blinded the eye, or what hides the heart of the man from himself, like man? Lo, when thou seest not thyself, then others discover thee most plainly. It says, as the tulip is gaudy without smell, conspicuous without use, so is the man who set himself up so high and hath not merit. He ain't heard none of that stuff. In his mind, he's sitting up high. You know how that mind is, that mind. If you haven't drawn any circles around them thoughts, the mind will take you all kinds of places. It says, restrain her for she is bad. Guard her for she is irregular. Her who? The soul, right? And the acts of the soul are thinking, reason, will, and understanding, aren't they? So now we know what we're supposed to be using those tools on. Right? Because if we don't, she's outrageous. You know how we can be outrageous sometimes. We can be outrageous in our demands, we can be outrageous in our requests, we can be outrageous in our behavior. All stemming from the soul. Because we haven't tamed her to be of use to us, a positive use to us. The chapter for this evening, we'll close up because I'm really sincere about we need to do something else. We was talking about earlier in chapter 20. That's what we touched on that. It was chapter 21.
Yes.
Holy instruction and warning for all young men. The title of the chapter is Holy Instruction and Warning for All Young Men. We believe that the warning to the young men is about the woman. We believe that. And so we'll start talking about how the woman, right? All these characteristics. When in actuality, the warning is to the young man about his thoughts toward the woman. His thoughts. I said earlier, we have a higher self and a lower self, right? The prophet repetitively teaches us about our perception. She can wear what she wanted to wear. It's all about how you are perceiving her. Because if you're perceiving them shorts, then that's where you're going to move from. And what the prophet is telling us, that when you move from that, what he tells us? He said, the madness of desire shall defeat his own pursuits. From the blindness of his rage thou shalt rush upon destruction. That's on you. That ain't on her and them shorts. You can look as many times as you want. You can hook it up how you want to. The bottom line is, if your mind ain't right, your actions gonna follow it. And here's the other thing. If your thinking is not right, because we know the prophet talks about another sister in character, right? They say the tongue of the licentious is dumb in her presence. The licentious is that one that's always talking slick out his mouth about how, hey, man, you look good, you know, all that food that we did, we thought we was slick. All that slick talk we taught our sisters, you know. See, in the presence of this sister, that tongue, she ain't paying attention, what's wrong with that food? In fact, sometimes you get tongue-tied around this sister, right? If the young man does not pay heed to the prophet's warning and the thinking in chapter 20, he don't have a chance with that sister in 21. Because she ain't paying no mind. So what happens is, we find ourselves in these situations, right? Because of how we think and what we perceive. It's our thinking. It is our harlot thinking. Man, our people suffer from a lot of psychological issues, most stemming from our slave experience in this country. And as it comes from that, it has manifested itself in all kinds of ways. There has been great damage done to the family structure in our community, and as a result, we have what we see today. One of the things that those of us who have picked this up need to try to do is that we need to try to put on these glasses and begin to start seeing life for what it is. Like I said, I haven't met a more yet than jump up in the air and stay there. That means that we all are weighed down, or as Jesus said, by many times, bound down and called life. But that does not mean that our character has to be so out of whack that you can't tell the difference between us and somebody who's totally unconscious. Doesn't mean that it has to be that way. Because I have conversations with all kinds of people from all kinds of walks of life. See, that sister that we want to call that harlot, or the prostitute, or the sister we think easy, if we just took a moment to really engage them in conversation, we'll find that there's some deep-seated pain and injury in that person. You know there got to be some deep-seated pain and injury in our sisters when they walk around with blonde hair. You know something's wrong, but there's something wrong, deeply wrong. And the most obvious thing is that they don't love themselves. So our sisters are going to help the ones we want to call the hard, because they're going to be the example for them, to let them know it's all right to be themselves. And our young brothers and some of us older brothers need to stop thinking like a hard when we see a sister that's still asleep. Because a lot of times we play the role of the wolf. And we prey upon the weakness of each other. That's P-R-E-Y. Not P-R-A-Y, right? We prey upon the weaknesses of each other. See, it talks about a sister with this virtue of modesty, right? This chapter. And the reality of it is that those virtues and that modesty exist in every sister. Sometimes what we see, who our prophet told us, the illusion that we see is something that has been created. Because if we be honest with ourselves, and I'll speak for me, I come from a place in the gut. I remember there was a time when, this little job and stuff, I work out, people giving me deposits of, $1,000 or more, man. It was a time anybody give me nothing. you forget about some work getting done. And oftentimes I reflect on that, and I pray that's why I give thanks to Allah. Because what the difference that they make when you change your perception on life. See, I see life different now. It was always there. It just needed to be applied. And it needed to be applied consistently enough that it became a part of my life. Sometimes people wonder about, when I get these jobs, I'm so hard on certain things because I understand what got me here. And that has given my customers what they're asking for and showing them the best customer service that I can. Because the truth of the matter is 99.9% of my customers are our own people. And as much as we like to say that our people, we don't like to patronize one another, most of the business I do on houses is our own people. And they deserve as much customer service and quality of work that anybody else deserves. They deserve the same amount, if not more. So I never let myself just try to get by just to get money with my people. And that's how I keep working. To the point right now, sometimes I tell people, you gotta wait a little while. Because the other thing is, I'm not going around taking the pies from this one on the job, the pies from this one on the job. I've seen that. I've seen that before. No, we're not doing that. We're gonna finish this, and then we're gonna move on to that. So I can dedicate my attention to what we're supposed to be doing for you. But I want to say this in closing in regards to what my earlier statement is. When we get out of here, I say get out of here, get out of this room. Let's just find somewhere to go on Friday. You got to have the rules and all that stuff on me out there. Let's go out here, let's talk down people, let's go handle some stuff. Let them know that the Moors care too. To the Moors, and the room's hot too much.
That's
Like
right.
we don't care.
Yeah.
Like we're special, we're better than, and we're going through the same hell that they're going through. In the neighborhoods that we live in, the same stuff going on that we talk about in this room. In the neighborhoods that we live in. Because the reality of it is this: we have yet to build those communities. We ain't built them yet. And we are not going to be able to build them without our people's support. And the only way we're going to get our people's support, we got to stop hiding in the room, looking the part, being tulip sheets. Is love.
Islam.
With that, it's okay.
Peace. Islam. What's up?
So anybody have a humanity pathway?
No.
Knowledge.
Islam. Islam.
Islam.
I'm gonna recognize the proclamation. Open the floor for any announcements. Islam.
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 Islam. All meetings are to be open and closed. You got an announcement more?
Collection.
No, we can do that.
Islam, all meetings are to be open and closed, promptly according to the Circle 7, the love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. All rise, face the east for a recitation of the morning private prayer. 5 fingers on the left, feet. 2 on the right. Feet of 45 degrees. Islam.
Islam.
Islam, after the prayer, Brother Sheik, could you lead us in the proper closing prayer?
Islam.
Islam. Allah, Father, universe.
Allah, Father, universe.
Father, love.
Father, love.
Truth. Peace.
Peace.
Freedom. And justice.
And justice.
Allah is my protector.
Allah is my protector,
My God.
my God,
And my salvation.
and my salvation.
My night.
My night
And my day.
and my day,
Through his holy prophet.
through his holy prophet,
Drew Ali.
Drew Ali.
Amen.
Amen.
So,
Allah, bind our hearts and minds back to our ancient forefathers' divine creed and principle. This we ask in our holy name, in the seven. Amen.
Amen.
So,
Yeah.